Hey guys, tonight, I want to take you somewhere you've never really looked before, up. What if the sky wasn't just drifting clouds and random storms, but part of a vast, ancient system? What if every breeze, every drop of rain, every distant roll of thunder was connected, like gears turning in a machine older than time itself? Tonight, we'll uncover how weather really works, not just scientifically, but through the quiet poetry of a living, breathing earth. But before we dive more deeply into the secret rhythms of the sky, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. You won't want to miss where this journey goes. Long ago, in a world without blinking cities or mechanical hums, the sky was the first and final thing people saw each day. They woke to its changing colors, moved by its moods, and fell asleep under its ancient gaze. There were no satellites watching the weather from above, no radar maps, no 5-day forecasts. Only the sky, raw, untamed, and alive. People didn't just observe it. They belonged to it. It was woven into the fabric of their lives, like the ground they walked on, like the stories they passed down. Every gust of wind, every shadow cast by a drifting cloud, every crack of thunder held meaning. It was language. It was warning. It was blessing. Civilizations across the earth, from the temples of Egypt to the forests of the Amazon, from the ice-covered Arctic to the sun-baked plains of Mesopotamia, looked up and saw not randomness, but purpose. The wind was alive. It wasn't just motion, it was spirit, sometimes gentle, sometimes furious. It whispered through reeds, bent trees with invisible hands, and carried voices across valleys. Rain wasn't just water falling from the sky, it was a sign. Sometimes mercy. Sometimes punishment. People believed the gods wept when it rained, or that a storm was the wrath of unseen powers correcting the course of human arrogance. A drought might mean someone had sinned. A perfect season might mean someone had prayed well. Everything meant something. Thunder was a message. Lightning was divine. And clouds weren't just condensation, they were spirits in disguise, or smoke from celestial fires, or herds of animals moving across the sky under the watchful eye of gods. Some believed that when you dreamed, your soul rose into the clouds. Others believed the stars were holes in the sky, tiny windows into the world beyond. There were no weather reports. But people knew the signs. The shape of a certain cloud. The direction of a breeze. The silence of birds. It was intuition passed down through generations, a kind of ancient literacy written in sky and wind and light. They noticed the way mist clung to the grass in the early morning. The way leaves turned just before rain. They believed the moon pulled on more than just tides, it tugged on moods, on crops, on fate itself. Entire calendars were built around the seasons, the stars, and the return of certain winds. Monsoons came like clockwork. Hurricanes were feared like gods. The sky was a mirror, and when it raged, people looked inward to see what had gone wrong. And the sky itself? It didn't speak in sentences. It breathed. It pulsed. It shifted. Imagine it, the whole sky as a great, sleeping organism. When the sun warmed one part of the earth, the air there would rise, as if the sky was inhaling. Cooler air rushed in to take its place, the sky exhaling. This breath moved oceans. It sculpted mountains. It told birds where to fly. It whispered to trees when to bloom. The weather was not random. It was rhythm. Ancient, precise, almost musical. A choreography of sunlight, pressure, temperature, and time. And for most of human history, people felt this rhythm in their skin. They didn't need instruments to tell them a storm was coming. They could feel the heaviness in the air, see the flicker of strange light on the edge of the horizon, hear the tension in the silence before the first drop of rain. But then, slowly, we began to change. We built tools. Not because the sky lost meaning, but because we wanted to understand it more deeply. We replaced prayers with measurements. Rituals with readings. We no longer asked what the gods wanted. We asked, What is the sky made of? Why does wind move the way it does? How does a cloud form? And with every answer, we peeled back a layer, not to strip away the magic, but to meet it on its own terms. Science, in its gentlest form, is just another way of listening. And the sky? It was still breathing. Still speaking. But now, we were finally learning to hear it clearly. What if I told you, the weather moves with invisible gears? Not metal cogs or ticking machines, but ancient forces turning in silence, made of sunlight and shadow, warmth and cold, breath and stillness. These gears aren't built, they happen. They turn not in factories but across oceans and mountaintops, deserts and forests, invisible to the eye but felt in every breeze and every raindrop that touches your skin. You don't hear them click, but they're always turning, always shifting, always recalibrating the sky above us. That it all begins with the sun, that enormous, glowing heart in the center of our solar system. But the sun doesn't warm the earth evenly. Some places drink in its heat directly, while others feel it at an angle or barely at all. This imbalance is where the first motion begins. Warm air, like a thought, rises softly from the ground, light and restless. Cool air, heavy and waiting, slides in beneath it to take its place. This constant exchange, up, down, in, out, creates the breath of the planet. The earth doesn't spin silently. It exhales. This breath becomes wind, not just movement, but memory in motion. It carries warmth, carries cold, carries secrets across continents. Wind flows like rivers without banks, sculpted by mountains and oceans, guided by pressure and temperature. You can feel it brush your face without knowing where it began, in a sunlit patch of ocean, perhaps, or the cool shadow of a polar ridge. And with it comes temperature, that invisible sensation we forget to appreciate. Heat rises like joy, escapes like laughter. Cold settles like thought, heavy and still. Together they shape the flow of air, bending its path, changing its speed, whispering instructions to the sky. But the real architect of the weather is pressure, invisible, yet everywhere. Air presses on everything, all the time. Where it presses more, skies are clear and quiet. Where it presses less, the sky pulls upward, inviting clouds to rise and grow. High pressure calms. Low pressure builds tension. When the balance tips too far, something must give. The sky is a master of subtlety, until it's not, and then there's moisture, the most secret of all. It rises silently from oceans, lakes, rivers, even your own skin. It floats upward on warm air, hiding in the invisible spaces between molecules. When enough moisture gathers and the air cools just right, clouds are born, delicate at first, like dreams beginning to form. Some stay wispy, gentle, wandering. Others swell, gray and heavy, burdened with potential. Clouds are the sky's thoughts made visible. You can watch them shift, expand, dissolve, like ideas the atmosphere is still figuring out. But sometimes, the sky cannot hold what it's built. The pressure grows. The moisture swells. The wind hesitates. The clouds darken. And then, release. Rain falls not just because it must, but because the sky can't carry its own weight anymore. Storms are emotional outbursts, moments when the balance tips too far. Thunder is the sky shouting. Lightning is the spark of thought becoming action. And rain? Rain is a kind of relief. The sky is crying, yes, but not in sorrow. In catharsis. It's the system resetting. Letting go. This is the hidden machinery of weather, not rigid, not mechanical, but alive. It breathes. It listens. It remembers. Every storm is a correction. Every breeze, a recalibration. Every sunset-colored cloud is evidence that something ancient and delicate is still working exactly as it should. We walk beneath it every day, rarely noticing the gears turning above us. But they turn, always. The weather is not chaos. It's conversation. And tonight, the sky is speaking softly, as it always has, waiting for someone to listen. Every cloud is a conversation between warmth and cold, a soft, invisible meeting that begins quietly, down near the Earth's surface, where sunlight touches water and invites it to rise. The warmth of the sun kisses oceans, rivers, forests, and even the breath of living things. Molecules of water, excited by that energy, begin to drift upward, invisible to the eye. This is evaporation, the sky collecting secrets. The water vanishes not as disappearance, but as transformation. It lets go of form, of weight, and begins its ascent. It rises gently, lifted by air that was warmed by the same sun, floating skyward into cooler, thinner layers of the atmosphere, and as it climbs, the air around it begins to cool, not as punishment, but as welcome. Cold, after all, is only the absence of more energy. And when warm vapor meets cold air, it slows. It gathers. It finds other droplets just like itself, and they begin to hold hands. This is condensation, not the end of rising, but the beginning of becoming. Tiny particles suspended in the sky, dust from deserts, salt from oceans, ash from distant volcanoes, give the water something to cling to. And from this invisible dance of vapor and particle, a cloud is born, but clouds are not created all at once. They grow. They stretch. They shift. Some begin as soft breaths on the edge of a mountain, others as mist lifted from morning fields. Some spiral upward in dramatic towers. Others fan out like stories being told across the horizon. Cumulus clouds, those gentle puffs that drift on bright afternoons, are like daydreams made real, harmless, playful, full of light. They float low, casting shadows like sleepy thoughts across the land below. Cirrus clouds, so high and thin, are the sky's whispers, delicate strands of ice that stretch across great distances. They don't carry rain, but they carry meaning. Their presence often signals change, a front arriving, a shift in pressure, something gathering just beyond the edge of now. Then come the heavy ones. Nimbostratus, long, gray, and thoughtful. These clouds don't put on a show. They don't flash or crash. They settle in, quietly covering the sun, softening the day into a quiet blur. They bring steady rain, a kind of sky that doesn't want attention, only release. You don't notice the moment the rain begins, it's just suddenly there, like the sky exhaling after holding something in for too long. But then there are the giants, cumulonimbus clouds. These are the storytellers of drama and tension. They rise like monuments, towering miles into the sky. Built layer by layer from warm, moist air climbing into colder and colder regions, they are full of energy, weight, and memory. They hold thunder in their depths and lightning in their bones. From far away, they look like castles or anvils or mountains made of breath. Inside them, winds howl in circles. Ice and water collide. Charge builds. And then, the storm speaks, in flashes, in cracks, in torrential weeping. Clouds are not just decorations in the sky. They are thoughts made visible. They are the visible part of a vast and invisible system, a living circuit of energy, temperature, motion, and balance. Clouds remember where the heat has been. They know where the sea has breathed, where forests have sighed, where rivers have whispered their warmth into the sky. Every cloud carries water that once touched life, water that once ran through a mountain stream, or fell on the back of an elephant, or shimmered inside a single leaf. To understand clouds is to understand the mood of the earth itself. They are forecasts, yes, but they are also poetry. They tell you what the world is feeling, how it's processing change, where it might be headed. A cloudless sky is not always calm, sometimes it is waiting. A sudden wall of dark clouds doesn't always mean fury, sometimes it is repair. Rain doesn't always fall in anger, sometimes it is memory returning home. So the next time you look up and see a sky full of shape and motion, know this: you are looking at balance in motion. You are witnessing the breath of the planet, warm vapor rising, cool air welcoming, and the quiet moment where they meet. Every cloud is a truce. Every cloud is the sky remembering what it means to feel. And when the sky can no longer hold those feelings, it rains. Gently. Fiercely. Always in rhythm with something far older than we can see. Sometimes, the sky gets overwhelmed, and that's when the storm begins. It doesn't happen all at once. It builds slowly, invisibly, like emotion. Like a long-held breath that begins to tremble. The air grows heavy, thick with moisture and tension. Warm currents rise fast and eager, climbing into colder layers above, bringing with them the hidden heat of sun-warmed fields, restless oceans, and long afternoons. But the sky has limits, even if it feels infinite. And when too much warmth, too much energy, too much moisture gathers in one place, something must give. That's when the sky cracks open. A storm isn't chaos. It's a correction. Inside towering clouds, sometimes rising higher than the tallest mountains, water droplets swirl and clash, freezing and falling, rising again in wild, unseen cycles. These collisions create friction. And friction becomes charge. The cloud begins to divide. The upper regions hold positive energy, the lower ones, negative. And between them, a current of tension builds, like a conversation turning into a shout. When the difference becomes too great, the sky can't contain it any longer. In one breathtaking instant, lightning strikes, a jagged river of electricity tearing through the atmosphere, reconnecting what had been separated. It lights up the sky not in destruction, but in release. A single bolt can be 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun, yet it vanishes in the blink of an eye, a cosmic exhale. And then comes the sound, thunder. The voice of the storm. Not a threat, but the sky's response to its own sudden, blinding thought. Long ago, people feared these moments deeply. To many, storms were signs of divine anger. In Norse myth, Thor swung his hammer and the sky boomed in answer. In Greek lore, Zeus hurled bolts from Olympus, warning mortals of their place. In Africa, thunder gods danced through the heavens, balancing life and death. To hear the roar of thunder in those days was to feel small, and watched. Storms were more than weather. They were messages. Punishments. Prophecies. But even then, buried beneath the fear, was wonder. A sense that the sky, in its fury, was still beautiful. Today, we understand storms differently, not as curses, but as systems. We can track them from space, measure their intensity, predict their arrival. We see the invisible patterns, the rise in humidity, the shifts in wind, the drop in pressure. We know how warm ocean water feeds hurricanes, how mountain air shapes thunderheads. But knowing doesn't make them less magnificent. If anything, it deepens the awe. Because now we see them not as accidents, but as necessary. They restore balance. They carry nutrients. They cool the earth. They recharge the sky. A storm is not something gone wrong, it's something going right in a wild, urgent way. So when the sky darkens and the wind begins to circle, when lightning sketches brief memories across the clouds and thunder walks slowly behind, remember this: the sky is not angry. It is remembering how to let go. And when it rains, it is not punishment. It is release. It is the great breath falling back to earth. Not to drown it, but to heal it. Air never sits still, it's always dreaming of movement. Even when the world below feels still and silent, the atmosphere is swirling, gliding, flowing in vast and delicate patterns. It moves not in chaos, but in choreography, like a great dance that never stops. The sky, though invisible, is full of rivers. Not of water, but of wind. Some are wide and slow, hugging the surface of the earth. Others, high above, are fast and narrow, racing thousands of miles across continents. These are the jet streams, swift currents of air that move like arrows through the upper sky, guiding storms, nudging weather systems, and whispering to the clouds where they should go next. Beneath them, near the surface, lie the trade winds, steady, dependable currents that have flowed for centuries, shaping the journeys of sailors and migrations of birds. They travel from east to west, wrapping around the belly of the Earth, driven by heat from the equator and cooled by their long voyage. These winds are not wild. They are loyal, predictable. But they do not flow in straight lines. Because the Earth itself spins, and that spin bends everything, including the wind. This gentle twist is known as the Coriolis effect, and it's the Earth's secret touch on the sky. It causes storms to swirl instead of march. It turns winds into spirals. It is not forceful, just persuasive, like the tug of a dream pulling the wind into a slow, eternal curve. Together, these movements shape the weather of the world. They connect the poles to the tropics, deserts to rainforests, oceans to mountains. The air carries heat from where there is too much to where there is too little, always trying to balance what the sun makes uneven. Warm air rises over jungles, carrying moisture into the sky. Cold air slides down from the poles, crisp and hungry. Dry winds dance across deserts, lifting sand into the upper atmosphere, where it travels thousands of miles to fall like dust on distant forests, feeding trees that have never seen a dune. In this way, the air becomes a messenger. It carries stories, of warmth, of drought, of growth and fire and storm, from one part of the world to another. This is not just motion. It is memory. The atmosphere remembers every forest it passed, every ocean it touched. The wind today was once the breeze in a distant land. It breathed through leaves. It skimmed the surface of waves. It passed through the lungs of animals, the open mouths of flowers, the cracks in canyons. The air is ancient, and it is shared. Every breath we take is part of a global dance, choreographed by heat and spin, by mountains and sunlight, by invisible forces that never stop moving. So the next time you feel a breeze brush past your face, know that it is not random. It is part of something vast and connected. It might carry the scent of sea salt from a coast you've never seen. It might have passed through the branches of a forest on the other side of the world. The wind moves not because it must, but because it remembers. Because it longs to bring balance. Because it dreams of dancing. Everything in the sky has a pattern, even the chaos. To the untrained eye, the weather might seem like mood swings, sudden storms, strange winds, unexpected droughts. But beneath the drama, the sky moves in cycles, not accidents. It remembers. It learns. It repeats. Just as waves roll and stars trace arcs through the night, the atmosphere keeps time in long, slow rhythms. These are not minutes or hours, but deep sky memories, years, decades, sometimes longer. Weather may seem like a moment, but it is really a story that began long ago and far away, told in the language of heat, wind, and water. One of the sky's oldest remembered patterns lives in the Pacific Ocean, where warmth gathers quietly beneath the surface, waiting. In some years, this warmth rises and spreads like a soft sigh across the sea. This is El Niño, the boy child, and though gentle in name, it changes everything. When El Niño arrives, the trade winds that usually push warm water west across the ocean weaken or even reverse. That warm water drifts east instead, toward the Americas, heating the air above it and shifting the entire balance of global weather. Rainfall patterns twist. Storm tracks bend. Dry places flood. Wet places dry out. El Niño is the earth rebalancing, not a mistake, but a reset. It's the sky remembering that it's been here before. Then, in another rhythm, sometimes years apart, the cycle reverses. The winds grow stronger than usual, pushing warm water away from the Americas and pulling up cool water from the depths of the ocean. This is La Nina, the girl child, and her arrival cools the tropical Pacific. But cooling doesn't mean calm. It changes the rhythm again. Hurricanes may grow more fierce. Rain may vanish from places that once flooded. Wildfires flare in corners of the world that had known peace. The warmth hasn't disappeared, it has only shifted. Moved to a different part of the globe. The sky is not forgetting. It is rearranging. These cycles, El Niño, La Nina, are not just weather. They are memory. The earth breathing in and out. The ocean sighing in deep, slow pulses. And beyond them, larger patterns unfold, the Pacific decadal oscillation, the Atlantic multi-decadal oscillation, the Arctic oscillation, ancient loops that guide temperature, pressure, and precipitation across generations. They don't move on schedules we can feel day to day. But the planet feels them. The forests sense them. The animals migrate by them. These patterns shape our harvests, our rivers, even our cities, though we often forget their names, but the sky remembers. It remembers the summer when oceans warmed too much. The winter when wind patterns wandered off course. The monsoon that never came. These memories are not written in books. They are written in ice cores and tree rings, in coral and sediment, in the quiet tilt of satellite data. The weather is not new. It is the echo of what has come before, reshaped by the present, repeating softly, subtly, not perfectly, but predictably. Even the chaos is part of the rhythm. So when the sky feels strange, too hot, too dry, too loud, don't imagine it has lost its way. It is searching for balance, sifting through its memory, trying to repeat what once worked. The clouds are not confused. The winds are not lost. The weather is a living memory, moving through time, carrying the past into the future with every drop of rain and every change in the breeze. So the next time you look up, know this: the sky isn't random. It's a song. A pulse. A story we're still learning how to read. Every breeze is part of a sentence that began in sunlight. Every cloud is a moment of memory, floating slowly from one place to another. The warmth you feel on your skin is not just heat, it's the sky remembering the sun. The rain on your window is not just water, it's the ocean returning, briefly, to whisper something soft and old. Thunder is not rage, but release. Lightning, not anger, but clarity. And even in its wildest moments, the sky is never out of control. It is balancing. Breathing. Becoming, what we call, weather, is the sky thinking aloud. Its patterns are ancient and endless, a rhythm that has shaped the forests, fed the rivers, and stirred the oceans for billions of years. We used to fear it. Then we worshipped it. Now we measure it. But beneath all those names and tools, it remains what it has always been, alive. And it is generous, letting us live beneath it, letting us listen in on its slow, endless dreaming. So close your eyes, if you'd like. Let your breath fall into rhythm with the wind. Let your thoughts drift like clouds. The storm has passed. The sky is calm again. Somewhere above, the wind is still moving, the clouds are still thinking, and the sky, always, is still alive. Soft ambient tones begin, the hush of distant wind, the echo of thunder far, far away, the gentle tap of unseen rain.